Well, hello, Rick Miracle here again with video number 36 of 50. And this should be something interesting. The Sirius Mystery by Robert Temple. Because there's so much about the UFO disclosure and aliens. There was Earth visited by intelligent beings from a planet in the system of the star Sirius. So I thought, as the world is getting chaotic, and there's a lot of bizarre information out there, a lot of people don't know what to believe. And that's why I do book reviews, by the way. I'm not sitting here telling you what I think and telling you what to be afraid of or telling you what to fear. Or telling you what to think. I let the famous authors, I just review the books that I've read completely. You can see all my tabs there. And this was interesting. I do have my own opinion about the alien UFO thing. And in the context of all of my videos, hence that's why I'm doing 50 videos, I figure if anybody can watch all 50 and see the 50 plus books that I've read and put them in context, they should get a better picture of what's going on. My picture in my mind is developing every day because of the more I learn. So with that said, let me just jump into this. The Sirius Mystery, Robert K.G. Temple. As usual, I put little tabs. Alright, here we go. Let's start at the beginning. What is this? The mystery. The question which this book poses is, has Earth in the past been visited by intelligent beings from the region of the star Sirius? When I began writing this book in earnest in 1967, the entire question was framed in terms of an African tribe named the Dogon, who lived in Mali in the former French Sudan. Alright, I'm going to jump to my first tab, see why I tabbed it. Any people who still believe human beings are unique as intelligent life in the universe are seriously out of touch with reliable and informed estimates by scientists and astronomers. An attitude which asserts that man is the only intelligent life form in the universe is intolerably arrogant today, though as little as 20 years ago it was probably common belief. Well, I have a yes and a no to that. Yes, I believe there's other life on Earth, in the universe. And no, I don't think there's greater intelligences with fantastic cities and superior societies without wars and, grace and all that stuff. I think Earth is unique. I think that we are spiritual beings in a biological computer body. And, maybe on some other planet there may be some ant creatures that have bodies and something. And maybe they have some kind of space travel or ship, or there might be some reptilian beings or fish beings. I certainly don't think Earth is unique with biological growth, animal, human, plant, fish, whatever, birds. But I think it is unique, and I think that the battle that we are fighting right now are ancient entities that are spoken of in the Bible, and you can take it into context that when God and they speak of heaven, that is obviously the stars and in the sky. And so when they say that a third of the angels were kicked out of heaven with Lucifer and cast into Hades and all that, I put more faith in the Bible than I do believing there are advanced civilizations on other planets. Because if there were, and they had visited here, I don't think they would allow the chaos and the mass murder and some of the grotesque things that are going on all the time. Abduction of people by Satanists in vans, taken to temples and sacrificed, and horrible things done to them before and after if they do sexual things to them. And the mass murder of nuking Japan and the other satanic abductions and all that. No, I think Earth has its own circle of reality in its own context. And I think the Bible and the ancient text pretty well makes it pretty clear. But for the powers that be to try to get us to believe that there's some entities coming to save us just doesn't bode well with me. But that's me. I'll read the book. I once met a woman who appeared quite sane. I'm just jumping around here. And who was a member of a cult who believed in the earth is flat. Sorry about my speech. This was one of the more startling experiences anyone can have, and a salutary education to me. It taught me never to underestimate the power of the human mind to believe what it wants to believe despite any amount of evidence. Well, that's true. We're going to see that's real true here. There is no need for me to continue marshalling quotations from distinguished scientists and astronomers in support of the possibility of intelligent life in space. And as the situation is now obvious, the odds against intelligent life occurring fairly frequently within our galaxy are impossible ones. Since this is established, we are faced with yet another factor. In our own history, technological development has been rapid in a short period of time. When civilization all over the universe reached takeoff point, they have a technological explosion. Again, I disagree with that, because if you've been watching my videos, and we're up to 36, we know that people like Nikola Tesla and a lot of the other scientists, including Einstein and Newton and many of them, spoke of getting interdimensional counseling or information, whether through meditation, dreams, apparitions appearing before them. All this started 100, 150 years ago, 100 to 150 years ago. And Nikola Tesla on stage would explain that. And of course his handlers would go up there and pull him off the stage. It's an interesting perspective. So I do believe in other entities. I just think that, as the Bible says, the demons and kicked out angels are trying to come to earth. Sorry about that. I had to move my little setup because of the chainsaw. Alright, back to the book. Takeoff point is probably a universal phenomenon. Like I said, the takeoff in technology has been in the last 100, 150 years. For the last few thousand years, people rode horses and fought with swords and arrows, and thousands of years. Even the American Indians used arrows, and finally they invented the single-shot gun. And so the real technology in the last verifiable 4,000 or 5,000 years has taken off recently. Now, if we go back up and we go to the giant pyramids and other monuments, ancient monuments all over the planet, yes, of course, it seems there was a highly advanced civilization back then. And again, biblically speaking, like today, they were into genetic manipulation. The powerful were enslaving the many, the masses. And there was a lot of hideous things and terrible, murderous things going on. And for whatever entity, call it God, call it a higher power, say there are advanced civilization, but they're just not in human biological form. They're in spiritual form, which we are as humans, all spirits in a human body, I believe, and the majority of the world's people believe that, whether you're Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, Jewish. Interestingly enough, it's the occultists, the Masonic people, the Rosicrucians and the Satanists and all that, that think being in the material body is a bad thing, or something they want to get rid of and make amends for. And there's where we cross the bridge of the problem. I think they're wrong. I think that this life, God, or whatever you want to say, put us in this body, created this situation on this planet with its enveloping shield and oxygen and water. It's a fantastic gift. That's my opinion. Okay. Intelligent societies all over the universe will probably have experienced it or are due to. All over the universe. Everybody's going to have that takeoff point. Well, again, if you've been reading any books and you've been watching my videos, you know, and from 1840 to 1940, a lot of the elitist professors and wealthy people had the leisure and the time, and were studying the occult and communicating with the other side, and of a lot of the technical advances they got from the other side, and witchcraft and other activities like that opened portals and to allow entities to come and go, like King Solomon with his magic ring with the five-pointed star could call forth demons and enslave them, hence he got his power. You see where the problem is? To me, it's one or the other. It can't be both. But I could be wrong. Now, the lifetime of a single person is of no consequence to the great universal time scale for the development of civilizations. Again, I disagree. These people are saying the individual man is of no consequence. So I suppose 2 individual people would be of no consequence. 1,000,000 people would be of no consequence. Even 5 billion murdered, and maybe in World War III, would be of no consequence to this kind of thinking. Hence my videos, Freemasonry and Satanism, because I believe there are lodges and occultic groups, whether they're Zionists, Illuminati, Freemasonic, Rosicrucian, York Rite, Scottish Rite. I think that they have some higher level, even the Vatican and the vaults, and that they know things they're not sharing with the people, interdimensional communication, selfishness, they want to enslave humans. I think that's more of the circle of reality that I can understand, other than some aliens, Syrians from the star system, Sirius, coming to save us, the masters, which is what the occultic people in the New Age are teaching. Alright, so once intelligent societies reach takeoff point, they rush so quickly upward in technological competence that a comparison between them and non-technical societies is almost absurd. It would be foolish for us to suppose that any society more advanced than ours would be just a few years ahead of us. It would more likely be just a few 10,000s of years ahead of us. And the technology and nature of such a society are beyond our abilities to imagine. The intelligence societies existing in the universe then are going to be of 2 kinds: less advanced than ours, primitive, and fantastically more advanced than ours, magical, to be the point where we are now. As the watershed between primitive and magical is such a rare event in the universal history that we may be the only intelligent society in the entire galaxy which is at this moment experiencing such a stage of our evolution. It seems like that's what they would like you to think. Let's go here. And remember, in the Bible, it said people lived 300-400 years, 500 years, more. So there's some things that just doesn't add up. But what I'm getting at is not merely to impress upon the reader that a pecking order is likely to exist in the interstellar club of any galaxy. A pecking order. So that would be to the Platonists, from Plato's theory of there should be the leaders and the different stages of managers and then slaves, a pecking order of humanity, which I suppose is great for those at the top of the pecking order, and not so great for all the ones that wind up being the slaves. At least to the extent of having restrictions on novices, but to make the point which emerges from this. And the point is that such a highly advanced societies have possibly developed to such a pitch of technological expertise that the interstellar travel has become possible for them. Well, the UFO thing, as a lot of people are aware, really took off in the world, not just the United States. After they exploded the 2 nuclear bombs in Japan, which again I hate to bring this up, but it seems relevant to my thinking. But the names of those 2 bombs were Fat Man, and Little Boy. And the perverted thinking of the presidents and the people at the time, Fat Man and Little Boy. That's quite odd. Alright, we're talking about sub-Saharan Africa. They are described in a classical account by Alexander Polyhistor as amphibious. This would be are mentioned at this point in the Sagan book, for they do not crop up again in this history, and is some time of coincidence that they are mentioning it out of the blue. Sagan goes on to discuss some fascinating creatures credited with founding the Sumerian civilization, which sprang up out of nowhere. As many Sumerian archaeologists will unhappily admit, they are described in a classical account by Alexander Polyhistor as amphibious beings. He says they were happier if they could get back to the sea at night and return to dry land in the daytime. So apparently they think there were some amphibious beings from Sirius B who came to Earth, and all the accounts describe them as being semi-demons, personages, or animals endowed with reason. But they are never called gods. Okay, here we go. It is these Sumerians to whom Sagan has just referred with the legend of an amphibious creature who founded their civilization. But all this does not concern us quite yet. I will just add that the Jews and the Arabs are both traditionally said to be descendants of Abraham, and Abraham was neither a Jew nor an Arab. Now, the people of sub-Saharan Africa are the source of our first arresting information. The particular people are called the Dogon. And it has a map here. Where in Africa they can be found. The Dogon consider that the most important star in the sky is Sirius B, which cannot be seen. They admit it is invisible. In some of their cave drawings or whatever, there you go. And I read this book in its entirety. So I'm going to try to make a synopsis and not drag this out. Gould and Dieterlen make clear that the large and bright star of Sirius is not as important to the Dogon as the tiny Sirius B, which the Dogon call the Po Toto, Toto meaning star in the African language, and Po is a cereal grain that is very small. And speaking of the Po star, Gould and Dieterlen, I can't say their names, call it the star Digitaria, or just simply Digitaria. It's the name of this star, a Apparently, when you look up in the sky at the Orion, the 3 stars that are his belt, just look to the left about an arm's length in the sky, and you'll see a bright star, and that's Sirius A. And astronomers notice that it wobbles a little bit, so that tells them there's something orbiting it, pulling it, making it wobble. And apparently it's a dark star that they call a dwarf star that you can't see. And somehow these people from Africa, the Dogons, drew cave drawings of it. That's how they thought that the amphibious being from the water planet of Sirius, that's near the star system of Sirius B, is where the amphibious beings from Sirius came from. And it goes on to explain the pictures and the wobble that they noticed, and how could these natives know that there was a star you can't see circling the brightest star up there, Sirius, right next to Orion's belt. The Dogon also know the actual orbital period of this invisible star, and apparently it was 50 years for it to make an orbit. And they knew this in their religious rituals that they did. They had a celebration every year, or every 50 years. Here's another drawing they made of it. Alright, moving on this book. The worlds of spiraling stars were populated universes. For as he created things, Amma gave the world its shape and its movement, and created living creatures. There are creatures living on other earths as well as our own. This is some of the sayings of the Dogon African natives. There are creatures living on other earths as well as our own. This proliferation of life is illustrated by the explanation of the myth in which is said man is on the 4th earth. These nomas are more or less equivalent with the Sumerian and Babylonian tradition of Onus. That was a god, mythological god back then. The system of Sirius, which is known as the land of the fish. So we could see here that Robert Temple, he wrote a nice thick book here, 2 fingers, and I started to suspect something. I said, knowing what I know about the Freemasons and the occultic people and all the stuff going on in the world, UFO sightings and all that, I said to myself, he must be a Mason. Oh, I looked him up. And here we go, we'll talk about the author of that book. A note about Freemasonry by Robert Temple, Master Mason. Due to the fact that a garbled account of myself, Sirius and the connection with Freemasonry, has appeared in a recent book, contains some inaccuracies, I thought it best to put a correct account on record, lest any false impressions be too widely circulated. So here he's a Freemason, and he's writing this book about these aliens who seeded Earth, or did something when they came and visited the Dogons. He goes here, I have a very friendly acquaintance with Christopher Knight and Robert Lemons, whose second book, The Second Messiah, see, we get back around the full circle here. Century London, 1997, contains nearly a page about me. Unfortunately, Chris and Bob did not inform me that they intended to publish anything about me, and did not show it to me beforehand because they remembered a conversation with me imperfectly. The account contains several inaccuracies. For instance, they believe that only if I became a 33-degree Mason myself could I have held further conversations about Sirius with the man who was my grandfather's Masonic protege. and who became Lieutenant Grand Commander, second high-ranking, immediately under Supreme Grand Commander of the Supreme Council of Freemasonry in Washington, which is also the Mother Supreme Council of the world. I don't think I need to keep reading this. This is 6 pages. You can look it up. So we're taken into context here. This book about aliens coming to Earth. And I'll just go a little bit more in the book, and then I'm going to get to some more fun stuff. They go into great detail how the ancients figured out the orbit of the star you can't see, and you know, back then they didn't have telescopes 2,000 years ago. And interestingly enough, they call it the dog star too, which is pretty important if you pay attention to some of the stuff that's talked about in occultism, which we will be doing more of the Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma. Alright, here we go. Let's see this here. The main star or deacon was Sirius. The 4 deacons immediately before it in order comprise the constellation Orion. You know, they say there's aliens from Orion, there's aliens from Pleiades. We're going to go over a Pleiades book too. This is the Sirians we're talking about, which are quite interesting so-called described creatures. Sirius advanced man. Sirius itself was known to the Egyptians. So the Egyptians and the hieroglyphics of the pyramids, where they have Ra and Osiris and Isis, the name that is now attacking the people in Iraq, and their son Horus, which is represented by the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill. And of course we discussed the eagle, which in Albert Pike's book is the god Mendes, the goat god with the women's breast, is on the other side of the dollar bill, opposite the pyramid and the eye. So this all circles around all this stuff and this reality going on today in the Middle East. Hence, that's why I'm bothering to share this book. I can see the connections. I hope you can. Everything is connected, in my opinion. The Sirius itself was known to the Egyptian as SPD, Spet, ending in T. This is sometimes spelled Sept and pronounced thus. Orion was known to the Egyptians as Seth, which is translated into Sa or Ser. Now that we have established a few names and facts, we have to consider the next fundamental point. We must establish, on the professor's word for it, that the star Sirius was actually identified with the famous goddess. Alright, so Sothis has been identified with Sirius in one of the rare certainties in Egyptian astronomy. So this is a goddess firmly identified as Seth, residing there. Sothis is also identified with the goddess known to us as Isis. There we go. But whose Egyptian name is As, which is translated as Est. So now we have Isis in the picture. Osiris is the husband of Isis, which identified with the constellation Orion. So in the New Age religion that they're trying to force on the world, you can see the Egyptian hieroglyphics here. I suspect will be these goddesses, Isis, Osiris, Ra, whatever name you want, i.e. Satan or Lucifer, whatever they want to give it that's going to return will be probably a part of the new 666 Mark of the Beast religion will be forced to do, and this is where they're furthering their so-called scientific proof. And here too is an explanation with the symbolism of the dog, which has always been associated with Sirius, the dog. And they do have those gods on the hieroglyphics in Egypt with the dog's head, the jackal. And that would be Anubis with Sirius, which has been born through the ages, the name of the dog star. Anubis is variously represented as the jackal-headed or dog-headed in the Egyptian art. You see how this all connects? See why they got all those... From as an engineering technician working for a major aerospace company for 10 years and an avid reader of popular science and other books like that for 30 years, I read many of the UFO books and the descriptions, and a lot of the UFO sightings are orbs. And orbs can join into one or can separate into many. And even if they wind up looking like a physical metal ship, they can switch into a glowing orb, which may be their means of interdimensional travel to get from another dimension to this dimension. And but as the human society, though, there's just something wrong here. There's like some forces out there are feeding like parasites off of the human people, and have been probably ruling our society for thousands of years and feeding off of the people in maybe practical ways that they need, but in other sinister, sick ways that they have done, sacrificing people, eating people, taking the cows that were slaughtered and the blood drawn and the organs taken, and all the DNA, and the deal supposedly that the President of the United States made with the aliens in the 50s about allowing them to abduct numerous humans. And I just wonder, were they trying to mix their DNA with the human DNA to come up with an offshoot new creature on Earth? Just me asking questions. Anyways, back to the book. Enlil and Anna were pictured as the wild ass and the jackal, respectively. Anna is represented by the jackal. Well, of course, the jackal is the symbol of the interchangeable with the dog, or of the Egyptian Anpu, or Anubis. I shall explain later why I consider Anna to be related to the Sirius question, apart from the obvious parallel. At the moment, I shall deal further with the related parallels that I consider amazing. Anna is the king of some attendant deity called the Anunnaki. We shall shortly see why they are so involved in the Sirius question. But note the occurrence of Summer and An in both Anna and Anunnaki, in the Egypt, and both with Anpu and Anubis and Ankhis. In all these cases, Sirius is involved. The planet Sirius, again, about an arm's length. If you look up in the sky and see the Orion and his belt, 1, 2, 3, you'll see the bright star. It's obvious, and that would be Sirius. Even the jackal or dog is common as a symbol to the Anna in both countries. So we've connected Robert Temple as a master mason, writing a book convincing us of the reality of where these creatures came from to Earth. And we know they're trying to bring around a new world order and a new age. And we know about Lucifer, Satan, kicked out of heaven with a third of the angels, and at the end times the demons would be let loose on Earth, and they will deceive men and bring us a savior when they create more suffering and pain and economic strife. How's that for a bunch of words? Okay, Mead quotes, and again I'm just skipping around, up to page 73. Mead quotes an Egyptian magi, that would be a magician, papyrus, this being an uncontested Egyptian document which he compares to the passage in the Transmagistic literature. I invoke thee, Lady Isis. I guess that's magic. I invoke thee. With whom the good Damien doth unite. He who is Lord in the perfect black. You see what I'm saying about the religious preparedness that they're writing books and people sitting down, reading, gobbling it up and believing it? With that said, let me deviate here. So I thought I would go online like I normally do, and I looked up Sirius aliens. And you can see here one artist rendition of the star. And we're all familiar with crop circles. And apparently Draco, Sirius A, and Lorraine are a couple of the aliens from Sirius. This stuff's on the internet. And apparently some artists depict them as aquatic creatures. There's a lot of this stuff in history. You've seen pictures like this. Ancient Egyptian art. And some of the Hindu Indians have their people portrayed as blue. Are these Syrians from Sirius? The Sirius experiment? Are they trying to tell us that us humans are a Sirius experiment? You got your ordinary gray from Orion. I got these pictures on the internet. And apparently one of their scientific inventions. Sirius A and Sirius B. The Syrian starseed Terra. There, you know, we know the circle and the triangle, the Illuminati signs. Onus, Ramotini, and Nemesis. Just helping you get educated about what they tell us might be coming to save us, because they're so horrible. Or they're blaming it on the reptilians, and they're going, according to the Dogon, a race of half fish and half human beings descended from the sky on West Africa and taught the Dogons many things, including sharing information of their home world. You can find this on the Syrian Alien website. Crop circles. All this was on the Sirius Alien website. We know that this bright rays are on the dollar bill over the eye, and he's holding something like an ankh, a triangle on his throat, the tree of life on his tummy with the Rosicrucians and all the occultic groups. See that? And then, of course, the sun. Is that the sun or the moon? That's the planet Earth. And then remember the movie Avatar. Are they trying to tell us something? They're trying to paint a picture, like this loving, beautiful thing is going to happen. Are you buying it? If it's satanic, Satan's the greatest deceiver. Atlantis rising. I'm just saying, then I guess for the women, they'll love this guy, you know, nice long blonde hair, good looking eyes. Look at his hand. That would be Commander Ashtar. This one looks a little creepy. What is this? One of the masters? Some description of some of the ships they've seen. They say that the Anunnaki, that Obama looks like that statue of the Anunnaki. They say there's a lot of gifted people all over the planet now, and they're calling them star seeds. But I'm also reminded of the many abductions, and I just wonder, is there some mutations intentional mutations taking place? The tarot card again. And again, a Hindu-Indian version of the blue people. Don't they look like they're coming to save you? Some of their language. Alright, there's a image of Ashtaroth, a god in Egypt, standing on the lion. Notice the star and circle on his head, like the satanic star and circle. Here is one depiction of a Syrian. Looks like a fish. Got these skulls all over the world with the long, elongated heads. There's Orion and Sirius. And look at this guy with the crown on his head and the triangle and the circle like on the dollar bill. Nice picture there. Makes you look like something beautiful coming to save you. I don't think anybody needs to save us. I think we need to save ourselves and wake up. Abundance. Look at the promises. Abundance. Beautiful people are going to bring you abundance. And then they have the Egyptian pyramids matching up with the alignment of Sirius. Several different dates when it lines up, going over the 12,000 years cycle. See where it says 11. You can find that, there's a video that's interesting. The Sirius cycle, the great year of the blazing binary sun. See that? Look that up if you want. That was a good video to watch. The professor there explains it pretty well. Remember, the Satanists and a lot of the occultists are into the solstices and the equinoxes. And of course, the winter solstice is when the days are shorter when you're in the north hemisphere, and they're longer in summer, so December and July. And the equinoxes are when the days are exactly the same length, short or long, the days in the middle. And apparently they're big dealings with satanic and occultic rituals, Kabbalah and all that. So there's the pyramids again, lining up with the stars in Egypt. And for you guys, they try to make them look really good for you. Is anybody buying this? And then, of course, another video was Area 51. And I believe this is true. Groom Lake, Nevada, possible magnitude, levitation tubes, shuttle tunnels. The mag-lev tubes travel at 2.7 Mach faster and are connected to a global network of tunnels. There is an underground highway connected to many DUMBs, that's underground cities. One of my NSA contacts who works with Los Alamos DUMBs claims that he was chased on foot along the highway by 3 tall and muscular Nordics. That'd be tall people from Norway that they call Nordics. But apparently there's some alien entities like this that are really huge. So I believe this planet has always had people who knew more than what they're telling. But if you keep the human race dumbed down, you keep them enslaved. He claimed that they were human reptilian hybrids because their eyes would shift into having a vertical slit from pupils. A lot of people have heard of the reptilians. Anyways, this guy here he's got some videos on there, and he speaks with Akash and his Martin Horsch. Martin Horsch. You can look up his videos, and he speaks for the Syrians who are telling us that they love us and they're coming to save us. Martin, M-A-R-T-E-N, H-O-R-S-T. And the name of the show is ET First Contact Radio. Latest galactic news. I wrote all that on the back there. So you can pause it and write it down. So anyways, on his videos and radio show, I took these pictures. And he says they're coming to save you because they love you. Personally, I'm not buying it. Are you? So anyways, getting back to this book and finishing this video, and hopefully just putting a little bit more of what we all know in context. It's an interesting book to read. I read the whole thing. They have a lot of the Egyptian hieroglyphics in there. some of the African natives who they consulted on the religion. Here's one of the statues of a fish god dressed in a fish outfit. So you can get this book online. One of the historic sites. Is a reptilian eating a man? It's an interesting book to get on a used book site. You can probably get it rather inexpensive. So I should take you a little tour to this book I read. More fish god people in the Egyptian drawings. So like I said, this guy was a master mason here. We went through this. So it's just an interesting perspective on this alien conversation, disclosure projects, and so that's your introduction to the Syrians and its involvement with the Egyptian hieroglyphics and the Dogon tribes of Africa, and some sort of an education and religion that's coming our way soon, this new age, this new world order. And they're finding new discoveries all over the Middle East right now. In the news, archaeological digs are going on and new discoveries are found in caves. I suspect that has to do with a lot of the high technology satellite imaging they can do, X-rays so to speak. And they're going crazy trying to find some scientific discovery for what? They've already got many weapons of mass destruction. And now their Israelis are attacking and destroying more and more Palestinians these last few days. And ISIS, we just saw the mother of Horus in this book. They're calling a group over there ISIS that's attacking Syria and Iraq and trying to take over the Middle East. Is it all related? I think so. Thank you for watching my videos. I hope you find it interesting. And pay attention to all what's going on in the world. It really does seem related. And we have to be intelligent and thinking and not believe somebody like this is coming to save you. Have a great day.